And we are live. You're probably wondering, who's this guy? Why are you able to see this person speaking right now? It's because I just realized that we've been giving these webinars every week, and you guys don't know what we look like on this side of the house. Andrew Boone and Joe Hurley. So I
Nice to
thought I
meet you,
would,
Joe.
and yeah, it's. I thought I would share screen today, share video, and let you folks see the face behind the crazy voices and the crazy information and all that stuff is shared every week. It's how my hands look moving around like that. It's kind of like magic. Um, so what we're gonna do, we're gonna let folks pile in. I'm just gonna leave the video on just to, let folks pile into the webinar, and when we get a critical mass, we'll jump into it. Today we're going to be talking about advanced pitching. There's some thumbs up. You guys can see mine as well. Appreciate that. Well, since you guys are using the features, I'll just say, you have that, all those icons there to use your thumbs up, smiley face, all these things. And if you want to drop a question, you know how to do that. We'll take all the questions at the end of the session like we always do. Today, we're going to be talking about advanced pitches and objection handling. Along with me, we have Andrew Boone, Senior Manager of Sales. I'm heading up, there you go, my colleague every week. We are going to be, I'm going to switch this off so you guys don't have to have nightmares looking at my face anymore. And I can flip into the deck here. Let's just load that one up.
Excellent. And there's a little message in the attendee chat, Joe, just for the folks who may have a question. Put it in the audience question section, and then we're going to address them either at the end of each section or at the very end of the call.
You got it.
And when can the presenters use the thumbs up? I really want to just hit thumbs up 24/7, but it never lets me.
Yeah, I always try to hijack the thing, but it never works for me, right?
I know, they've taken our power away.
All right, so I'm going to turn off my camera, boo-hoo, and I'm going to jump into this training session today. Like I said, it's advanced pitches and objection handling. We have my colleague Andrew Boone here. Just so you know, up front, some of these slides are a little information heavy. They're to be used as reference material. So we're gonna go through. We're not gonna read word for word. We never read word for word what's on these slides. We like to keep it live and lively, keep it real. But we're gonna circulate this deck after this presentation, after this training, so you guys can feel free to use the contents for whatever you need, and you'll see what I mean. We have this whole deck presented in such a way that it categorizes the pitches by pain point. It categorizes objection handling based on what the people say. So you can you'll be in a position to copy and paste stuff from here and use it in emails or commit it to memory or have it up on a second screen and have it rattle it off to somebody you're on a call with. Someone says something to you like, hey, stability is very important for me, or remote work is very important for me. What do you guys have in your CCAS product that offers that? And that's what we're going to be going through here today. So without further ado, we'd like to start with a quick recap, though, of what we covered on the last few webinars, in case you didn't get to catch them. And if you didn't, we have them all on the Intermedia Partner YouTube channel. So just to give a recap, we've covered things like prospecting and pitching. Last week we did product and buyer basics. What we're going to do today is we're going to start with a very quick recap, starting with the 3 packages that we have on offer for CCAS. Andrew, what's your thoughts on these 3 packages? How would you summarize these 3 packages?
If I had to boil them down, Express is your simple elevation from the hunt group. It includes call recording, inbound only, requires an elevate or unite client, right? So it's a named agent plan. Folks that want to include a little outbound to their voice product and need some more advanced historical reporting, Pro's your next step up. It's actually a concurrent license model, and it's phone and system agnostic, so a little bit more sales opportunities there. But it provides you, a lot of skill-based routing and CRM integration, things like that. And when I talk about Elite, it's really your multi-channel experience. You want chat, SMS, email queues, but a lot of other features in there, as well as some custom CRM integrations, self-serve IVRs. So really, you're more advanced. But if I had to boil them down, that's kind of the Coles Notes version, as I would say, because I'm Canadian, of the 3 packages.
Guys, just so you know, you're gonna from time to time during this webinar, and I'm sure through the others that you've heard so far, you're gonna hear Andrew make statements and refer to things that have absolutely no meaning to you, and that's because, well, unless
Just
unless some of you are from Canada and would know what Cole's notes are. I've been living here for 7 years. I have no idea what he's talking about, but it's okay.
well, a Coles note is similar to a Cliff note, and so I'm aging myself here, pre-internet days. But in Canada, I guess we had Coles versus Cliff. I'm not sure what the difference is. Same colors, black and white. I know people are giggling to themselves on the other end. Anyway,
Just
Coles
uh,
notes.
just just nod your head and say yes. Okay, moving on. Um, so here's where we get into some reference material, right? So I have it written right there, so you guys don't have to worry about reading all this. You don't have to worry about us reading all this. But what we do want you to know is that for those three packages that Andrew just gave you summaries on, we have dedicated like positioning tactics for each of them. So we want you to know how and when and to who to position Express as opposed to Pro, as opposed to Elite. So without
Absolutely.
reading, and again, reference material. This is available. This will be available to you after. You could study this. You could copy and paste whatever you want. But for the purpose of this webinar, we're just going to go and summarize this because remember, we're still giving a recap. We haven't gotten into the meaty part of the webinar yet. So, Boone, quick summary. When should you position Express?
Yeah, and again, so Express elevation from a hunt group, right? You've got a small office, and I mean, these are not black and white answers, of course. There's always exceptions to the rule, but
Yep.
the customer is really looking for more detailed reporting and a little bit more direct, to agent sort of routing. And now we're introducing the concept of queues with Express, right? Instead of a hunt group or a ring all, we send the call to the next available agent. Add to that some administrative features like Whisper and Barge and Monitor. You're really at your entry level point for a contact center solution. So as we say down here, small offices, legal offices, etc.
Well put.
Pro, you need more details, Joe, right? You need more analytics, you need more business intelligence. Pro gives you unbelievable, like, between 4 and 5,000, right? Custom reports, or sorry, canned reports. So some of the customer types, which is really where this stems from, things like credit unions, right? Pharmacies, transportation and logistics is a huge one. And what all these guys have in common is they need better business intelligence, and they need the ability to route a call to the agent on the first try, right? Without having to transfer. So skill-based routing becomes important. And then, of course, we kind of talked about the next one already. You're looking at omni-channel, you're looking at chat, email, SMS interactions. So you're really taking a step up. So you're talking about enterprise level, multi-branch retail, which is an amazing category. Certainly banks and hospitals, credit unions, right? Anything financial services. And the one thing a lot of these folks have in common is that the value of the call to them is very, very high, right? They spending $200 per seat on for the software to support their customers is nothing, because each customer is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars. So when the cost of the interaction starts to increase, you'll find that it's the larger institutions like this that want to take advantage.
That's right. So a quick recap on our differentiators. So again, if you attended the last couple of webinars, you'd notice. But just to reinforce, it's a carrier grade solution. That means it's mission critical. It's minimum 5.9 uptime. We're part of the all-in-one business cloud from Intermedia, which is a staggering portfolio of cloud services from UC, which is Unite, collaboration tool with AnyMeeting, secure email with SecureSync, cloud contact center, which is us, CCAS. I mean, it's a formidable depth of cloud productivity solutions
An amazing
that
stack.
that very few folks can match. So it's good that in itself is a differentiator. Andrew just gave a rundown of Express Pro and Elite just now. So Pro and Elite, of course, can be purchased as a standalone, and they are they're completely vendor agnostic. This is something we're not gonna talk about that too much right now because we're gonna hammer that home in some of the some of the objection handling pieces and the advanced pitches. Contact Center Express is, of course, fully integrated with Unite UC, and you get all the benefits of that integration. It's easy to use. It's same interface, all these different types of things immediately available with a couple of clicks. There's cost certainty and flexibility with this product, as opposed to going with somebody else and getting sticker shock. There's no sticker shock with us. What we quote you is what you pay. Max and custom reports are included, no free of charge. We're not going to charge you extra for a report that you thought would be included and isn't, which is a rarity because we have, like I just said, 4 or 5 thousand reports in here. So it's our reporting depth is one of our differentiators in itself. And of course, we are the authors of this software. Obviously, not Andrew and I. We're not smart enough for that. But those who are the smartest guys in the room over here have built this product from scratch. So
Yes.
and we associate ourselves with them just because we like to be in the same room and like to pretend we're, hey, we're breathing the same rarefied air as these geniuses.
Can
But
I add
we
to that too,
developed.
Joe?
Mm,
It's because somebody didn't come to us and say, hey, can you build me Whisper Monitor Barge, right? Somebody
yeah,
said, I have this problem, which is I need to be able to listen to my agents' conversations so that I can elevate them to my worst agents to be my best agents. So we developed a product, Whisper Monitor Barge, to help them achieve that along with the evaluator. And that's what industry experts mean, right? We don't just build
yeah.
features for feature's sake, we build them to solve problems.
Exactly. This is a bunch of folks on this side that have spent decades in the call center space, in the telecom space, in the IT space, in the software space, in SaaS in general. So we're products of those environments. We're products of those segments. So this has been built by experts. We're the authors of the software. We could do whatever you want us to do with it, and it's not patched together like how some of the other solutions are. CCAS positioning, we're going to speed things up. We really want to get into the advanced pitches, but this is just to show you and reinforce that, hey, this is something that's applicable and positionable across every single vertical. Healthcare, hospitals that need to book appointments, issue reminders, which is where a dynamic notification feature really comes into play. Measure care levels, pharmacies as well. Let's not forget those folks, especially multi-branch ones. Education, it could be colleges, universities, community colleges, technical training institutes, whatever. They all have one common thing that and that is they have a student body. That student body needs to be managed in some way, handle enrollment, student questions, student services. On the financial sector, it's huge. You got everything from credit unions to investment banks and commercial banks and everything in between. You have a variety of needs there, but everything can be summed up in the sense that there are customers that need some sort of service. It could be online banking, it could be telephone banking, it could be anything. But we have solutions that have been well positioned in that segment. We have success cases in there. So if you have financial opportunities and you're not sure how to get in that space, we could absolutely help you. Food and drink, restaurants, bars, you name it. Again, this is in the service sector. They need things like, hey, what's the? We need to be able to communicate what the special of the day is, or menu items and things like that. Return missed calls. Be able to tell the difference between a a $5 call, and a $10,000 call. You might have someone calling in there to say, hey, I'd like to rent your entire premises for the night, as opposed to someone calling in to say, yeah, my pizza's stale. So there are different types of calls that you want to be able to identify. Um, and then we move into hospitality. So, this is a step up from the restaurants and stuff. There's hotels, guest houses, all those types of establishments that they would need things like self-service. They have reservation desks. They want to be able to provide confirmations, reminders, list goes on, right? Property management, real estate companies, real estate developers, real estate, the property management folks themselves. uh, these guys usually have many offices, and it's good that they could have one number, route between all of them, so they don't have to list 20 different numbers for 20 different offices. Um, and they also have to be able to field all these calls coming in at the same time. Services sector is pretty large, which is why we try to categorize it like this. It could be anything from a travel agency to a legal office to an auto dealer, you name it. These folks, the common needs here: appointment reminders, customer surveys, payment information, marketing campaigns. Everything is kind of wrapped up in here because this is a segment that's pretty wide. If we had to imagine where the majority of the average customers would fall into, it would probably be this one, right? Um, because this is just a all-encompassing vertical. So where do we go now? We are now getting into the advanced pitches segment, and again, this is reference material. This is stuff that you can feel free to copy and paste, rattle off as you need to. So if these slides are a bit on the wordy side, it's only because they were written as though they were to be used as training material, and we're just gonna summarize as we go through. So I'm gonna pitch these over to Andrew one by one. The whole theme here is a customer basically saying to you, as you're trying to sell them CCAS, they're saying, "Hey, sounds great. I love what you're saying about Pro, or I love what you're saying about Elite, but I'll tell you what, stability is very important to me. Your talk track in response to that should be to talk about our uptime." And I'm going to pass it over to Andrew to summarize what we have here.
We're not talking about relationship stability. We're talking about our services, right?
Yeah, we
Yes.
talk about
So
service
yeah,
stability.
I'm a little bit more complicated. Yeah, I mean, obviously we track uptime and we have geo-redundant data centers, as it's mentioned here in Chicago and Toronto, and we don't have, and I'm using air quotes here, outages. We have some degradation of service from time to time, but one of the cool stories about our product, especially when you're talking about Pro and Elite, being agnostic, we've separated the voice path from the call center path, right? So let's just say you've got a customer, they've got a Cisco PBX, we layer in our product over to the top, their Cisco PBX goes offline. We have the ability to route those calls to a different phone number, different agent DID, even a cell phone. So together, right, separating those paths actually gives the customer bigger paths in disaster recovery. So obviously we talk about the uptime, we talk about mission critical contact centers that cannot go down, like most of the Canadian government agencies, LA County Hospital you have listed there, a lot of banks and credit unions, obviously. There's a few more, Henry Ford Hospital is another one. So in terms of the existing infrastructure with those two data centers, with I believe two more being added by the end of this year, are all geo-redundant. So they're meant to back each other up. The other thing is, and I don't want to knock competition on this call, but there's a lot of a lot of other services out there. When they do an upgrade or when they change a feature or add functionality, it takes people offline, it takes customers offline, it takes agents offline, errors are made. When we roll out those types of features and functions, right, we actually don't take anything offline. They're all deployed over server clusters so that it doesn't degrade service. Of course, as I mentioned, we're agnostic, so being able to send calls over PSTN, open or private IP, SIP trunking, etc., give you control over that call path. So there's, again, multiple paths in there to the end customer. And I think this is important. I mean, a lot of people do this. It's not a huge differentiator, Joe, but if anyone on this call has subscribed to the alerts in the My Contact Center website, you'll see that we're way ahead of the curve when it comes to keeping you informed on those issues, right?
Mhm.
Full-time alerts, and also identifying whether the service is going to, whatever problem we're having is going to impact you specifically. And I really do, appreciate those alerts as well. Stability. That's my talk track.
Stability. There you go. So if someone says, "What's wrong with my thing here? I'm trying to move forward."
We can move you forward.
There you
Clicking.
go. All right, yeah. Oh no, it's moving too much forward now. What's wrong with this? Are you playing games with me?
Yeah, I clicked it
Someone's
and you
moving
clicked
this.
it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm
All
gonna
right.
stop.
So let me. This guy. You know.
We
All right. So if someone says they need to enable a remote workforce, so let me just tell you guys, at the end of this presentation, at the end of this training, there are a couple of slides that's kind of giving you a heads up that later on this month we're going to have a very special webinar. It's going to be a cross-product webinar, including myself and Andrew, of course, and some of our product brothers from the Any Meeting and the Unite groups. We're going to have a very special webinar focused around enabling remote workforces from the perspective of leveraging Unite and Any Meeting and CCAS. So it's definitely one to look out for. But just to touch on the CCAS side, if someone says to you, "I want to enable my remote workforce. I have multiple locations. I need to have remote workers productive." What do you have for me there?
I mean, it's endless, right? I mean, first of all, you just hit it. Our entire stack is built to support remote workers, right? Whether you
Yeah.
work from home or just, like us with workers in offices all over the world, we have the software to bring everybody together. Joe, you're down in Trinidad today. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, you and I don't work in the same office, right? But obviously, we're having this call, so it's really powerful, the remote worker application, because we're noticing at the customer service level, a lot of people are leaning towards this as an incentive to agents. And so they want software that enables them to let agents work from home as a perk, right? And we're talking customer service here, sales, et cetera, but still have enough control over the entire product, the manager, supervisor, real-time visibility, so that they can manage it without risks. So beyond being just phone system agnostic and being able to route a call to any 10-digit DID in the world, or in North America anyway, we also can unify disparate phone systems, right? This happens so often. Hey, I just bought a new company. They've got 3 locations. They're running on 3 different phone systems. I want to really try to tie in my toll-free numbers into one central location and have all of those calls distributed evenly, even though my agents might be on different phone systems because I've been buying these new companies. Well, obviously our software can help unify that and give you that skill-based routing functionality you've been missing because obviously you've got separate phone systems. And then, the fact that, and I mentioned this before, right? Power goes down, phone systems go offline. You've got a Cisco PBX, your IT guy calls in sick and things just go sideways. You can still have your agents, right? A power goes out, there's a disaster, log in with an internet connection and any phone device. And then on the really extreme side, we even have a browser version of all this software. So all of these things, and there's more, right, really help customers depend. And of course, you don't want to infer too much, but depending on what they view as a remote worker and how they want to roll this out. And I will tell you, like these old Avaya systems, even some of the Cisco legacy systems, because they're tied to a PBX, it's very difficult to enable remote workers. You really need a CCAS solution. I'm not saying we're the only ones that can do it, of course, but when you're coming from a legacy on-prem solution, remote workers are extremely difficult. And I'm picking on Avaya and Cisco out of the gate. And so layering this over the top solves a lot of problems, including the remote worker.
And plus, there's even a whole mobile play here. You can have calls routed to agents' mobile phones if needed, right?
Absolutely. Or, I mean, if they're using Unite or Elevate, right, and they're using our client and it's enabled on their mobile, then we're just going to route the calls through that as well. But, when we say mobile, we mean PSTN, route it to your 10-digit D over your mobile, not necessarily to an app. And that's an emergency thing.
Yes,
That's
no, that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's really critical, right? Because there's going to be times, and we just lived through this last week. We have a small Canadian call center. Again, I'm Canadian A, but they had a wicked snowstorm, and agents couldn't come to the office, and they literally had them. I guess power went out or something, and so some people were in, but they couldn't log in. Some people had to work from home. They had all the agents. They shuffled them all over the Tim Hortons, and they worked remotely from the Tim Hortons on Wi-Fi and cell phones. Now, yeah, I don't advise that for everybody. And by the way, I'm Canadian, so Tim Hortons is like, a coffee place for folks that don't know. But the idea is that's an extreme example, but that's I mean, the customer experience didn't change. They didn't lose any money that day, right? They were able to stay live and present, a unified firm for their customers. So I can't talk about that enough when it comes to remote workers.
All right. So if you have someone that says, okay, this is great stuff, but we manage to call our own call center ourselves.
Yes.
What would you have to offer us?
It's a bit of a double-edged sword there, right? Because you're going to have a certain group of customers like, listen, you're the expert. I need you to help me best in class, make recommendations. I need you to help me be better, right? And that's where we come in and we manage. We're your white glove there. We make all of your moves, adds, and changes. We help you with custom reports. We build your IVR for you, right? We recommend call flow changes and prompt changes to improve your outcomes based on your requirements. But there's a flip side of that as well, which is, hey, I am used to managing this myself. Sometimes a customer makes a request of me and I need to create a brand new call flow in 15 minutes. So we do have that ability, Joe, right? Which is, so we can go, either way. One, white glove service, as I just, kind of described, or we have SLAs and turnarounds and we build everything for you. Or we have the opposite where we give you the tools to build and control and everything on your own. So you never have to reach out to us or you guys as a partner for a change. Was that covered on the next slide?
A little bit of it, but I want to jump in on something here. The third bullet point where we say, let us be
Yes.
responsible for the IVR problem. Now, if you remember some of the previous webinars where we went into like the whole Sacramento credit union thing, and we were showing you how to spot check, how to find when somebody has if they have toll-free numbers or if they have any kind of ACD set up on their side, and looking for the telltale signs. One of the things we talked about in that scenario was try to call that company and gauge your experience in trying to reach them. So in this case here, you may have somebody saying, yeah, we manage this stuff ourselves, we got it. Then you could say, well, that's good, but you're having a very serious problem with customers are trying to reach you and they can't. And they're
Right.
complaining about, they're getting lost in this never-ending auto attendant thing or IVR thing. And, so there's clearly an issue here. We can solve that for you.
Well, we've
There's
seen that
not
problem 5,000 times
many
before.
times,
Yeah,
exactly.
it looks familiar to us. Maybe it's new to you because you're not quite as well versed. But yeah, that's exactly it. And honestly, Joe, I can't stress enough. Like people when they set up their own, and Amazon is a good example of this. We have to self-serve, but If you've ever called into a call, a call center and you've gotten those weird, like sometimes there's dead air, there's no prompt, or it just goes straight to a voicemail, and you're like, what is going on here? And it's just lack of experience potentially in managing an IVR, or maybe just not just doesn't have the capabilities. Let us be
Yeah,
responsible. I couldn't agree more, because we do
that's
have a
right.
lot of experts,
That's what
right?
we do. That's what we do all day long. Let,
Mm.
let us help you, right?
We've
All right.
solved.
So here's what we get all the time. Here's what they're gonna say, hey, um, the system is pretty complex, right?
Yeah.
And then you want to start talking about how easy our system is, how easy it is to administer, because they may start shying away when you start going through different types of features. And we have 200 plus features. We can do this. We can do that. They might say, hey, I don't know, man. This sounds pretty hard to me. It's going to be hard to learn, hard to administer, hard to use. Then you have a perfect talk track over that. Go ahead, Boone. I'm going to let you free
Yeah,
on
and
that.
I mean, it's difficult to just tell people that our system is easy to use, and that we have lots of user-friendly interfaces that's very intuitive, and because we find a lot of folks that come, and I'm talking about call center managers here, right? The actual business user. Traditionally, they've relied on IT for a lot of this stuff, right? So here's my problem. Can you help me solve this? And IT will go out and via Cisco solve the problem. Well, that dynamic has changed, right? And so now that we're downloading the responsibility to the business user, which might be the call center manager, and we're saying that they can do it because the software is much easier to use, and it's a great GUI in there, and it's very intuitive. But it's difficult to just say. Obviously, the demo and the demonstration of the product kind of proves that to the end user. But overwhelmingly, this is the feedback that we get. It's like, wow, it's really easy to use. I can't believe it does so much. Why haven't I bought this before? Right? Like, obviously. So things like making your own moves, adds, and changes, adding agents, updating call prompts, running custom reports, running audit reports, integrating through, Active Directory from a single sign-on perspective. We've done all of this stuff to make it easier for these business users to consume the product without needing IT support. I have nothing against IT. We love IT. But right, part of the value of this product is obviously putting the power and control of the business user's hands. And
That's
so
right.
I think that encapsulates all of it, Joe. And I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
within
yeah.
reason, right? But
Of
it
course. It's the
overwhelmingly,
whole theme of you. We want you to focus on your business. We will focus on your contact center,
nice.
and that in itself will fuel your business, right?
Absolutely. And I'm remiss if I didn't mention security policies, but HIPAA,
Yeah,
PIPETA, if you're
HIPAA. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Canadian, PCI compliance. We supply you guys with AOCs on all of these certifications at any point in time, so that you can satisfy whatever end user needs you need.
We love this one here. When someone comes and says, reporting is very important for us. We have very specific needs as far as reports are concerned. There's certain types of data that we need to run this call center, certain types of data and this could be coming from different profiles of people. You could have a marketing person come and say, yeah, I need to get data on how sales campaigns are going. We have a whole group over here focused on telesales, telemarketing. We have another group over here. The support guy, the support director might come and say, we have a need to pull help desk data, so I know exactly what those KPIs are looking like from time to time. So you may have different people in an organization that have different data needs and different types of reports that need to be pulled from the system. And in many cases, it really exhausts the capabilities of some of our competition. But in our cases, where we start to thrive. Go ahead, Boone.
I have a secret for you.
Mm,
Everybody has problems with reports. It is the number one driver of sales, even though people don't necessarily say that. It's reports.
yeah.
It's reports. It's reports. It's reports. It's I don't know who's calling. I don't know I'm losing calls. My calls are being abandoned. I don't know how many calls my reps take. I don't know how many emails, how many chats. And so reporting, when we do demos and stuff, Joe, we save the best for last, right? We always talk about reports at the end. You've got, I don't even know. Listen, this is marketing talk, but we have somewhere closer to 5,000 reports, not 50 plus.
I was trying to be
Although
modest.
you
Trying to
were
be
trying to,
modest.
because
Yeah,
it is a bit of a detriment that we have so many reports. And
yeah.
part of our commitment to the end user and you guys as partners on this call is working with the stakeholders when we're onboarding and unlocking the right reports, right? Because it's a bit of an overwhelming thing. But reports are the single biggest problem that we solve, right? Business intelligence, business analytics, reports, historical and real time. and even the ability on the fly, right? And this is it's becoming rare that we need to do this, but we even have the ability to create custom reports. So, sitting down with your end customer, mocking up a report, sending it to the dev team, having it made available, and at no charge, right? Because there's no, professional services attached to it. Also, things like the customer journey. And I don't know if I showed you guys this in one of the earlier calls, and obviously not everybody's been on all of our webinars, but in an earlier webinar, we showed you a full call details report, which literally shows you from the cradle to grave, right? From the number the customer called from, the dialed number, all the buttons they push in the IVR, how long they waited, all the way to the outcome of the call, CSAT score included. We can really report on cradle to grave. And so however you want to slice and dice that data, we've got it there for you, right? That's kind of the important piece. And then for, more advanced customers, we can export data, whether it's to a BI tool that customers want to bring to the table. We mentioned Tableau, Power BI, or folks just want to take the raw data and run their own reports. We had a customer who's using Crystal the other day. They still want to run, they got Crystal experts in-house. So let's give them the raw data and let them, play with Crystal reports all day long. The idea is we want to make it easy for the customer to get the data that they need to make and solve problems that they have and they present to us, whether that's themselves or through us. Either way, we've got you covered. Did I miss
And we
anything
can
there, Joe?
no, and we can make it easy for you folks to tell that story. So we have marketing collateral things that, like for example, there's a white paper that's called "The Secret to BI." BI, of course, being business intelligence. We have a collateral that lists top 10 reports in each category. We have
Mm-hmm.
like 6 or 7, how many countless categories of reports. We name drop some of the top ones. So
Yes.
we make it easy for you to tell this report story, and then when you get a customer on the hook, then of course we're gonna be right there to help you close it on the demo stage. By the way, I forgot to mention that my colleague here, Andrew. I should have mentioned this on the very first webinar, but Andrew holds the title, the record, most likely a Guinness World Record actually, for
Is there a thing? Is
most
that a thing?
demos done in a year. I think he did 1,000 demos last year. And we had almost like a 60+%, 67.3, I think, percent close rate on demos. And it's because of how we do a demo. It's not that much different from what you're seeing here between the two of us. And Andrew has been in this business for a very long time. He's run call centers himself, so he knows use cases and different things to drop in the context of a demo. So the demo is not just you click here and you point here and you pull this menu down and you do this. It's nothing like that. It's that combined with use cases and close tactics. So when you
Mhm.
guys have someone on the hook and you say, okay, I need to get this guy over the edge. You just contact us, contact your whoever your partner rep is on our side, and we progress it to the demo stage, and that's where you start to bring in the money.
In fairness, the success rate is high because we're so good at qualifying, right? We try
Yeah,
not to put ourselves in a position on these demos where we're going to fail. Nobody wants you to show up and, hey, show me your product. Like, why?
that's
What's
right.
the point of
Yeah,
that? Show me
yeah,
your product because I have this amazing problem that I'm going to, it's going to cost me millions of dollars unless I solve it. Okay, sure, that's more like it. But come on, show me your product doesn't really work. So,
no,
and the qualifying is really critical for us, right? Make sure it's a
qualifying
good fit. So
exactly.
we don't embarrass you or ourselves.
That's right. Alrighty. If a prospect says to you that I am very interested in improving the user slash agent experience,
Hmm.
what do you talk about?
Well, you might want to qualify that one a little bit more. Are they talking about the people calling in, or are they talking about their actual physical agents? In this case, I know we're talking about our physical agents. And
Yes,
oftentimes, when you're using disparate systems, right, and everybody's all over the place, you've got a CRM, you've got your ERP, you've got your chat queue over here, your voice queue here, your phone, and everybody's all over the place. So, trying to tie those things together a little bit is what we do. We do talk about the agent interface training being only 30 minutes, and that usually calms people down a little bit. We literally have a 30-minute webinar for the agent training. It's very simple to use and learn to use the agent software. It's not something that requires us to be on site for 3 weeks while things are going sideways, left, right, and center. It's truly a 30-minute webinar. Agent signs in and they're off to the races taking calls. And for any of you guys that have used or seen the software, it kind of rings through. So a lot of that is covered, obviously in demonstrations and during our onboarding. But whether, when a customer is concerned, and it's usually your call center manager, right? They're concerned that their agents or their non-agents, and I'm talking about like medical, practitioners and clinics and nurses and those types of folks that buy this software as well. There's always that level of anxiety that they're not going to want to change, right? You don't want to upset your agent. So the software makes that real easy to overcome. We rarely have anybody stand up and walk out on agent trainings anymore. We solved that problem. And then of course the biggest thing, in my opinion, and this is IMHO, right? In my humble opinion, just from being a user for so many years, just the ability for the agents, the transparency we provide for the agents, whether you're sitting in the same office or you're sitting in some other country, you know exactly what's going on around you. You know your queues, you know your wait times, you see what other agents are logged in. You have tools to integrate with them and communicate with them, even though they may not be sitting next to you. And to me, that empowerment of the agent is the biggest improvement to the agent experience, right? Because we give them the tools and empower them to make smart decisions. That's not just something we tell our kids before they go out at night, right? You want agents to be engaged, and you want them to be able to say, yes, I can get you that $5 credit, Mr. Customer. Thank you so much. And so that's kind of our little soapboxy speech on agent experience.
Guy really sounds like he knows what he's talking about, eh?
This guy?
Yeah, this
Thumbs
Andrew
thumbs at
guy.
this guy? Yeah,
Yeah,
fair
I'm talking
enough.
about, yeah, this guy. You sound like you've done this before, haven't you?
Once or twice, maybe I've logged in and tried it.
All right. Okay,
This
flipping the script a bit. If improving the user/management experience is an issue.
I already talked about this for 10 minutes, but it's so true, right? Like, and again, historically, on-prem systems are managed by IT, part of your telephony. And so those call center managers didn't really learn to go into the Cisco call flow manager and learn how to create IVRs and prompts, and maybe doesn't even know the features that are there, right? Unless they were asked. And it's not a black and white thing, of course, but this is predominantly what we find. So our 2-hour admin training, and it is very intense, it's really meant to give the administrator or administrators on the account enough information and training so that they can go out and start building this thing. So first step, let's add our agents. Let's record some prompts. Let's create these call flows, and we work on it together. By the time this administrator, by the time this IVR is ready to go live, the administrator is an expert, more of an expert than I am. They can do anything. And I think that confidence, I think that confidence in their ability to control what's going on around them is really important. So one of our user stories here, right? We talk about LA County, Joe, right? The hospital. The reason we got those 9 million seats from LA County, or whatever the number is because this exact reason. The business users, the Dr. Whiteheads of the world that ran the cardiology and exology clinics, were waiting too long from an IT perspective to get their changes in. 6 months for a new IVR, Joe. Can you imagine 6 months waiting for new IVR? It doesn't even make sense. So, marrying this easy to use, we're talking doctors and nurses here, right? They use
Yeah.
our software to manage their individual needs. So the exology department has its own unique queuing than the cardiology department. And then they all have their own appointment reminder cadence, et cetera. And so just, again, putting that power into the business user hands. And I'm telling you right now, if Dr. Whitehead, and he's a very smart man, but if Dr. Whitehead can figure this thing out, never have worked in a call center in his life, and he knows how to run reports, and he knows how to do monitoring, he knows how to listen to calls, and he's kind of actually become a little bit of a pseudo expert, but he's a doctor. If he can figure this out, right, I think any run-of-the-mill call center manager can also figure this out. I don't know if that's a ringing endorsement or an indictment, but I'll take it. Now, you mentioned this one, Joe. This is your
This
baby.
is what that kind of name dropped before, the difference between a $10 caller and a 10K caller. How would you sum that up? I mean,
Well, I mean,
it's pretty obvious, right? I mean, if you
value, yeah, it's
if
pretty
you
straightforward.
can't, yeah, if you're not in a position to differentiate the incoming calls, especially if you're in a retail or services type industry, then you could be opening yourself. You could become very vulnerable.
Very much so, and it's just like we talk about this too, right? You let the club do the work, you put your effort behind the money ball. Like, I don't know, insert your cliche here, but at the in a call center environment, we would never admit publicly that we were treating a $10,000 caller differently than a $10 caller, right? So let's just put that to bed. It's not something we normally talk about. But the use case here that I find fascinating is someone owes you money, they're in collections, and they call you. Your CRM can automatic, with a proper CRM integration, we could just route that guy to the collections department. Never, you know what I mean? And obviously, lots of systems can do this, but it's critical for that small to medium and enterprise user as well, because maybe they haven't had access to the type of systems can make that determination. And then even inside our own application, we have this geo routing tool that allows you to preset some routing rules based on a whole bunch of different conditions, which I like to talk about as well.
You like to talk about everything, though. That's the whole
Yeah,
thing.
wind me up. What's up, Joe? I love it. You got some Trinity fans
I
in
got to,
the in the,
it's just mind blowing right now that one of our partners on the call here on this webinar is an old colleague of mine, Cable and Wireless in Jamaica. So it's
Get
mind
out of
blowing.
here. You worked at
Yeah,
Cable and Wireless? Never knew that. No, I'm just kidding. Of course, we should probably introduce ourselves on these calls a little bit better.
yeah, I know,
This is
right?
huge, Joe. This next
Yeah,
this next one is not the main reason
reducing
people buy.
costs. Absolutely.
And what does that mean, right? No, Joe did not work for Nortel. So this is not the main driver of our product, which is, hey, I need to save money. I need to reduce costs. It's rare that people say that because it's an expensive acquisition, but it's a talk track we're very familiar with. Because 70% of the cost of operating a contact center is actually the people, the salaries of the humans. If you have some automation tools like we mentioned agent scheduling, but to manage shifts, but also just traffic utilization reports, or even a self-serve IVR. Imagine, and Joe put in 5%. It's actually much higher than that. Where maybe one of your menu options on the IVR is to make a payment, press 2, right? And people press 2 and they just go into a self-serve IVR, never speaks to an agent. Even if at a small, and I think it's closer to 10, Joe, even at 5% reduction, those call volumes can easily equal a full-time equivalent staff cost reduction, right? So it's
There's one
really
second here.
important.
We got someone asking if we lost
Oh,
audio. Can everybody still hear us? Because someone
we
is
get a
asking
thumbs
if.
up. Thumbs up if you can hear.
Okay, we got Elon Bethay that said he can hear us.
Elon
Okay.
Bethay. Okay, so it's just you, Steve.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, Steve. Sorry, Steve. Just you.
Appreciate
Pepcat.
appreciate that, folks. Okay.
So yeah, no, reducing costs is important, right? And you do that through automation. Even a callback in a queue can defer calls from a peak time to later on in the afternoon. So even with properly adjusted and set up queues, you can actually manage call volume spikes like that. So something to keep in in the back of your mind.
Yeah, outside of the CCAS side of things, let's not forget that Intermedia, we also sell toll free. So when people start going down this cost reduction route, there's other ways, other things we could bring to the table to help sweeten these CCAS deals, right? Just as a heads up there.
Gotcha. No,
So
you're absolutely right.
yeah. Um, are you playing games with me again with this
No,
mouse thing? I'm trying to move
I'm
this.
not touching the mouse. I do not want to get in trouble
Okay, here
again.
we
There
go.
you
There we
go.
go. If
Now this is my jam right here because this is
this is
why we sell the
yeah, I mean,
product.
this is the most obvious one, right? Customer experience is what. This is why we're here today. This is why we're pushing this product. This is the problem it solves. Here we go. If improving the customer experience is an issue, what do you bring to the table?
I could talk for an hour about this, you know that, right? So I'm going to
I
try to
know.
keep it short. But the big thing is skill-based routing. Someone calls in on your and they hit 1 for sales. That's a bad example, and you route the call to a tech support agent. Not the best scenario, right? So ensuring that the call gets to the best agent available on the first try is one of the ways you can improve that customer experience, but also making it easier to do business with you is another way, right? So we have obviously 1, 2, 3 months after a customer goes live, we have monthly operational reviews usually with a customer where we're helping them review the reports and make recommendations to improve their call flows, right? Because usually after the first 3 months that data starts trickling in. Dr. Whitehead realizes he originally thought he only needed 3 agents, but in reality he needs 25 agents. So these are the things that reports and data can help. But the other piece is obviously beyond right sizing, getting the call to the right agent, opening up other channels, right, for them to communicate with you on. I hate making phone calls. I really don't like calling and having a problem solved. In fact, I don't think anybody does, right? It's one of the most miserable things. But if I can go to your website and have a chat conversation, or if I can send an SMS and get my customer service issue resolved, that's I'm going to choose that form first. So giving people that ability to communicate with you in the way that they're most comfortable with will improve the customer experience. It also can reduce your cost of interaction, right? Because a chat and an email interaction can be much less expensive to consume than a voice interaction. And chat and emails can also be, who knows, they could absolutely be deferred, maybe not as urgent as a voice call. Callbacks, things like that, right, to help understand and give people the option for when they're going to communicate it to. And then we tie it all together with reports and of course the dashboards and the monitor page, so that you can in real time keep an eye on all of these metrics and adjust on the fly, right? Your SLA is starting to slip, your occupancy rate is starting to slip. Get an alert email to you or to a group of people on the team that something is going sideways. Set a threshold on your monitor page to alert you visually when something is going sideways, and using all of these tools together to improve the customers' effort scores, net promoter score, CSAT score, which is customer satisfaction. And this is the part of the webinar, Joe, where I tell a story.
Let's hear
And
it.
the story is about Google. And Google, the way that they route calls, and it's still to this day, I tell the story a lot, it boggles my mind. Most people, when we get calls into a call center, it just goes to the agent waiting longest, right? That's pretty much how everybody covers things. But sometimes we use skill-based routing to give people a higher priority in a particular queue, right? So you're a tech support guy, maybe you're higher priority than you would be in customer service. But Google just throws that entire thing out the window. They track CSAT scores, and every single caller gets assigned a CSAT score based on a survey. And when we route calls to Google, instead of just looking at that standard, longest agent waiting skill-based routing algorithm, they force us to dip into their database of CSAT scores, and we have to route the call to the agent that's has the highest CSAT score that's available. And so recent calculations, the best agents have taken up to 5 times as many calls in a day than the worst agent, just based on the CSAT score routing rule. And Google rewards you handsomely for being the agent on the other side, right? And so there's an incentive program. And it's very bizarre to me, right? Because you've got agents now that are not doing as much work, conceivably, right, as your best agents, which is sometimes it's a little bit, we always like, hey, this guy's slacking, let's get him some calls. But in reality, don't we all want this experience, right? When I call somebody, you should put your best agent on the call for me, right? That's who I want to talk to. So I love that story. And of course, full credit to Google Fiber for coming up with that kind of rules-based routing system, right? Of course, it's Google. Anyway, moving right along. Good story.
Smart folks over there. They're smart because it shows us.
That exactly.
That's why they're smart. So we're going to go into the objection handling side of things. And timing is looking good. I think we're keeping a good handle on time here. Now, again, this is some reference material, just like the last bunch of slides where you can feel free to copy and paste stuff, rinse and repeat, commit it to memory, use it as you want. This is just a bunch of the average things that people say to us, things that people say in the context of a sales process that we have rebuttals for, or that we have different ways to handle. So this is what we're going to start going through here. Let's start off with, there's a famous one. I already have a contact center solution. Right?
Can I just say, every one of these objections is it's like a gift. Because if somebody tells you they already have a contact center solution, you're like, yes,
yeah,
I win.
You know why it's a gift? Because then you can kick off a nice discovery session. You can ask questions like, well, that's terrific. What is it that you have? Is it hardware based? Is it software? What type of solution is it? What are you using it for? What type of business are you in? What kind of calls are you getting? What types of reports do you need? You just go on and on, right? Of course, not sounding annoying like I am, but you're just going through a discovery session, right? And the whole idea with this discovery session is to unlock/unearth different things that you could use to emphasize features that we have, play the feature envy game, because we know that we could do things that that our existing system can't.
Exactly. And if the customer's happy, great, gold star. We're so happy you're happy, right? Move on.
Yeah.
It's like this. Great. Now we know. Let's move on to the next guy.
It's true. And and it doesn't hurt to keep in touch, because if they're happy and they're using something hardware based, for example, then at some point that hardware is going to approach an end of life situation.
No doubt about it.
It's good to keep in touch with that person, because when they get to that stage, they're going to be looking, right? Or even if they're with another SaaS competitor, they may have a fallout. If they're with somebody else that's known to have downtime, like our friends over there at Nate by Nate, then they're gonna start jumping online and examining options to move, right?
Honest, that's my favorite answer, Joe. I have an 8x8 or 8x8 or 9.5s, and it's like, yes. When is your contract up? When can we start talking to you? I think, listen, I jest a little bit, guys, but we displace these guys all day and all night, and it's because the support on those other CCaaS providers, and of course Joe explained the hardware, the support is abysmal, and so it's set it and forget it in their minds. We got the deal, we're out of here. And
the support is not only abysmal, but there's also a situation with those companies and their upgrades, because then they're intrusive.
They're very
You
intrusive.
could
They will take
you
knock
could
you
have an
out.
upgrade and it goes and your system goes down. It's just happened, right? So the other thing to note for you folks is that whenever you if you have a customer and they're currently with one of these folks, it doesn't matter who they are. Chances are we've come up against them before, and we can help you with competitive situations. You know, whether it be a battle
Yeah.
card or anything off it or anything inside of our minds that we haven't put into collateral yet. We can help you in those competitive cases. So feel free to reach out to your partner rep and just get a hold of us.
Someone
Go ahead, Andrew.
Someone mentioned someone because it came out about selling in the Caribbean. Short answer is yes for now. And so the voice and obviously the CCAS stuff is a little bit separate right now, but we can service the Caribbean with some limitations. I would say, Mr. Cover, to reach out. We should probably have a call
Yeah.
anyway.
I'm going to.
Reach
Yeah, I
out to you.
already told. I'm going to reach out. It's been a while since I've had some good grilled chicken. I'm going to need to get back to the Caribbean and
And if you guys are going, mandatory, you have to take me with you. That's the
Yeah,
only.
we're gonna
Okay.
You got to bring some sunscreen with you, but
Yeah. Oh
yeah,
yeah.
I'll show you where the good patties are and all those things. Okay, my contact center is already paid for.
Amazing. It's not true.
Yeah, some people might think that because they're using a hardware-based contact center and it's not subscription-based, they're not paying a monthly subscription for it. They think
Right.
it's all paid for. So the common question is there would be, okay, well, do you have someone that's managing that for you in-house? Or do
Right.
you have somebody contracted to do that? And the answer is usually yes to one of those, or sometimes both. In which case, you have a monthly expense that you have to meet just to keep that system running. And then there's a depreciation with the hardware. There's a whole we have collateral that can help you win this game here. It's like we have a graphic of an iceberg. You've seen the whole iceberg thing before, where these touchy feely posters where it goes success. This is what they see. This is what they don't see. Well, we use that, and the top of the iceberg shows you this is the person who thinks they've paid off for their hardware / on-prem based contact center, and under the
Mm.
water, like 7 miles down, are all the costs associated with it that they're not calculating, right? But the bottom
Yep.
line is, if anybody thinks that they've paid off for their contact center, if it's hardware or on-prem based, then they're wrong, and we can help take you through that path. And help them to realize that, hey, there's a lot of sunk costs and a lot of ongoing costs that are associated with you keeping this running, and let's show you the light. In other words, right?
Indeed.
Um,
Someone had posed a question, and we're going to answer it later. But just so you know, with the CCAS solution, with CC, right, we route to the agent's DID, so we're completely phone and device agnostic. It even works beautifully with Teams. In fact, a lot of our deployments are over Teams right now. So as long as the agent has a 10-digit DID, we can integrate, for lack of a better term. Keep going, Joe.
I'm already with another competitor and locked in for X number of years. I can't get out. What do we do then?
Yes. You set a task in Salesforce to follow up 6 months before that contract ends, and start the conversation, because can't get out is indicative of, well, I want to get out, so can you help me? There's other ways around it too. Maybe we can incentivize the customer to break a contract by making it easier for them to consume on our side, waive an install, delay some billing. But the reality is that is a sales opportunity, right? I mean, that's the only way to look at it. Every
Yeah,
time you can find out what CCAS solution they're using and what kind of things they like or don't like about it is a win. And we
yeah,
just add that to
absolutely.
the repertoire. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
My phone system does that for me. So we know that some of these fancier UC-based systems have some services and some features that kind of seem like they could do some of this stuff.
Like Sing Rentral.
What do we
Yeah.
say to those guys?
I mean, obviously, you guys know our UC does a lot of that stuff as well, but Express, right? It's that the things you can do in Express at a basic level: whisper, monitor, barge, queue calls, full call recording, right? Decent reporting, at least historical and real time. It's not pro, it's not elite, but it is a perfect stepping stone for that person that wants to that's going to need it out of there. And if you're happy with your phone system and you don't need reports and you don't miss any of those features, fine. But there is value in it, right? And people don't know what they don't know. And if the problem is my phone's ringing and I just don't know what's happening, or I got a hunt group and it's just I don't know who's answering the phones and who's not, well, that is a kind of problem. So when someone says their phone system does it for me, they're either A, not experiencing any pain points, or B, we're talking to the wrong person, or they're just not a good fit. But great, at least they've told you, right?
Absolutely. Alrighty. I like this one. We aren't ready to look at this yet. We have budget and timeline restrictions.
That's
So
old school.
simple. Find out what those are.
Yeah, but also, budget is a miraculous thing. With enough pain, budget can be found anywhere, right? And you guys all know this. We've all, we live, we're humans. If somebody has a big enough pain point, the budget will be there, right? And so
Oh, for
budget
sure.
is, budgets are for planning. Pain is what happens when you don't plan well enough, right? And
That's right.
um, we can overcome a budget timeline with the right amount of pain in a compelling event. Although Joe hit it on the head. It's like, when is your budget? When are you looking to make the decision? And let's set a task in Salesforce to follow up 6 months before then and start the combo.
And you know what? You could play if you have enough of a rapport with that person. From the last couple of webinars, we talked a lot about finding information and getting intel on these prospects. So, for example, if the person that told you this works for a company that has a whole bunch of bad reviews online, and those reviews could be tied back to negative customer experience, not being able to reach them, and all this type of thing, then one of your handling options for this objection would be, okay, well, I just wanted to have an idea when when you'd have a chance to look at this, when you'd have the budget, when the timeline would be up for us to talk about this, because I realize you have a whole bunch of not so complimentary reviews online, and if those continue to accumulate, it's going to start deterring customers from
Mm.
from wanting to do business with you. So just wondering, what's your thoughts on that? And you need to get down that talk track. And of course, you don't want to be confrontational about it. You just want to let him know, hey, I understand, no problem. We could talk in 6 months. Hey, by the way, I was looking up you guys online. I just saw XYZ. You just want to let them know, hey, this problem might be more pressing than you're aware.
Yes,
Okay,
absolutely.
we have our own in-house solution for CCAS. We get that pretty often as well, and it's usually associated with those folks who are running some sort of an asterisk based system. How often have you seen that, Andrew?
I mean, it happens a lot. And it's exciting when that happens because when they're ready to take on our solution, they have the talent and the skills to do all the back-end integrations. That's just going to make it world-beating, right? The risks associated with an in-house solution, and of course, we started out that way back in the early 90s, let's call it what it is
Mm,
that, that guy gets hit by a bus, right? I mean, we
yeah,
had to we had to do a lot of making sure our guys didn't get hit by a bus and share that knowledge to grow to where we were. But that's kind of the risk. Or the guy leaves for a better job, or it just eventually the development costs outweigh the value, right? So for us, it's a again, and I think you guys are picking up on this, every single one of these objections is just another piece of information now you can add to
yes,
your
that's
database of
exactly right.
what am I going to do here? And ultimately,
Yeah,
you're trying to find people with big enough pain points that will buy our software that we, of course, if we can solve the pain points, understanding all of those pain points, which is really all an objection is just a data point. And so when someone says they have their own CCAS solution, we just need to talk about all of those risks. We need to find
yeah,
out what they don't like with any solution. What don't you like about it? Well, every time I need a new queue, it takes 6 months for IT. I know I've said that twice. This is an actual real thing that happens.
yeah.
These are great problems we can tap into, but it really does come down to obviously pain, right? Do you have a big enough pain point to overcome that?
That's right.
Um, Expensive is weird. Owen Elon Bathe, as we call him on the call here, and he's not speaking obviously, but he introduced a really smart play early on in our sales process where partners socialize basic costs with the customer before the demo, and that actually eliminates that seems expensive from the generally coming up as a pure objection. However, when it does come up, wow, I did not expect it to be that high. That's when we start to build value, right? And that's where it's ROI, and that's where a lot of those other things come in. Do they view this as a cost center, or do they want to improve their customer experience? Because in either one of those scenarios, we can build an ROI model for them to accomplish those goals, right? And so Joe's given some really good examples there of features and things that we do to help build that ROI. And there's a million stories, and you guys already know I can sit here all day and talk to you about them. But at the end of the day, it's expensive if the pain point isn't big enough. Do you follow what I mean?
Mm,
And it's never too expensive if the pain point outweighs the expense of the call center. So part of us is finding those right-sized models, and someone that's running maybe a 3-man car dealership isn't going to spend $200 a seat. But hey, if you've got a credit union with 4 agents, it goes a lot further. So I think that's again just another data point for you to consume, have a conversation about, build the ROI model. But obviously, that's it's an uphill battle if the customers completely sticker shocked out of the gate.
And also
Socialize
just positioning the right package to that
for sure.
opportunity, because we've also seen that before. We've seen folks come in and they say, "Yeah, we want Pro, but we can't afford it." Okay, well, what's your requirements? And they give us the requirements. We're like, "Did you know that we could meet all those requirements with Express?" So
Yeah.
really, and then next thing you know, sales closed.
Yeah, and Express is a great gateway drug. We've
Yeah,
no, and that's I'm being funny, obviously, but we sold a lot of Express last year, September, October, November, in our early days, and we're converting a lot of them to Pro right now,
yeah,
and
that's
that's
true.
okay. That's okay,
Good.
right? I think
You're moving people up the food chain,
absolutely.
increasing ARPU.
All right, we're right at 3, Joe, and that's probably
All
my
right, at
fault.
three, I think this might be the last one here. So, we're too small for a call center. There's this misconception that, hey, my company's too small to need something like this.
Yeah, I mean, again, this comes down to pain points, right? Call center is a scary word for a lot of people. You go to
Yeah,
Dr. Whitehead in the urology department, he's like, I'm not a call center. I've got 3 nurses and 2 practitioners dealing with this stuff and me. But, we say non-traditional, they have the same problems. They need people to answer the phones. They need to know when they're missing calls. They need to know who's calling and why they're calling so that they can inform or be informed and make business intelligent type decisions about their future. And so when somebody says they're too small, we just default back to the what kind of pain
default
points
back
you're
to
having.
what pain points you have
Yep,
exactly.
absolutely.
We're an so let's speed things up a bit here.
Yeah.
We use an outsourced call center. Someone else handles our traffic.
It's that's we've done a lot of those. I'm going to talk about Distributel here. They're a Canadian ISP, big longtime partner of ours. 300-400 seats. They also have 200 seats in Cairo. And they force the call center in Cairo to use our software so that they can have consistency and reporting and visibility even when it was outsourced. And so there's value there for organizations to have the in-house and the outsource on the same platform, shared reports, shared skills, et cetera. Although, an outsourced call center, you still gonna have to obviously sell it to them, but generally the vendor can pick which tools that outsourcer uses to service their customers. And in this case, we often get brought along for the ride.
See, we
Ah,
kind of talked about this before. There was a whole, that was one of the advanced pitches. If they say, hey, the system is too complex, so we're not going to go through this too much. Again, this deck will be circulated afterwards. You could copy and paste whatever you want here. Yes, so that brings us up to. I just want to close off on this. Remember, this is huge. Sorry, it's not next week. It's later this month. It's probably going to be March 18th. So we're going to confirm this closer to the time. We are going to have a special webinar focused on enabling the remote worker. There's a lot of stuff going on. We don't need to get into details, but you turn on the TV right now. There's a lot of panicking going on, right?
mhm.
So we want people. We expect that you all on this webinar would have customers coming to you to say, "Hey, I don't want my full team to have to come to work next week because we don't want anything to happen or whatever." We are letting you all know that we have, as you already know, a suite of solutions here that enables the remote worker in ways that many people wish they could. So we're going to have a webinar specific around this. So we're going to have the product folks from any meeting and also Unite on that webinar, as well as Andrew and I. We're just going to sync that home and equip you all with talk tracks around that. Get back to your customers and say, "Hey, we're here to help you," and just take it from there. So we know we've had some questions, and we know that our colleague, he's like a mission. What do you call it? A special forces guy on the inside. He's in this chat here, just answering questions rapidly.
No, he's not
Mr.
answering
Mr.
questions. He's
Elon
just posing.
Elon
No,
Buffet.
he's just posing them. He's answered nothing. So the two big questions: Salesforce, MS Dynamics, Zendesk, and any CRM that a customer brings to the table, we can integrate. We need access to REST APIs. We've done Dynamics. We've done. Let's skip this one. I was going to say RP. Reach out to your rep so we can talk about that one. I don't know if this is to talk about. Express is getting more reports, not necessarily custom. There needs to be a delineation, guys, to upgrade to Pro, right? That's one of the features we use. This one, Joe, is a good question because Express and Pro are 2 different platforms. So we would build the
Yes.
Pro platform in parallel with Express, so there
Yeah.
would be no downtime except for the 1 second cutover, right? When we switch over. So there isn't any time, and there could be an upgrade charge, but often we don't charge it. Sometimes that's case by case, right? Depending on the customer, the number of seats, the requirements, all of that stuff. So that's one of the things your CCaaS sales specialist has power to talk to you about and waive on the spot, or charge if that's something you want. So the CRM question I answered. I'm just going through the list. I think that's it actually.
That's a
Sell
good
in the
question.
Caribbean.
Anything in the attendee chat
Oh,
here?
native call recording. So everything that hits our solution from the incoming IVR or an outbound call is automatically recorded in Pro and Elite. Inbound call recording, of course, native on Express is available as well, just two different platforms. And with Pro and Elite, we have screen recording as well. So as long as you're using the Windows app, the version of the software that is .NET capable, you actually can fully record the agent's screen time during the call, and including the wrap-up time. So yeah, this is, and it's a Pro add-on or an Elite feature for whoever was asking that question. Won't call you out. Was there any other questions in there?
I'm
The
not seeing
downtime
anything
one?
else.
No, I think we're good. And let me check the any other questions in the Q&A. Oh, that's Joe's question. Good. We answered that one. I think that's it. Oh, great webinar. You're welcome, Alex. So hit to the, and this is, someone just mentioned, part of what we do here, guys like myself, Joe, Elon, we all, I know it's awesome. We co-sell with you. We're real big on co-selling. You bring us a, an opportunity, or you bring us something that you think might be an opportunity. Hey, I have a customer. They might fit. We can help you come up with some targeted account planning. Hey,
Yes, absolutely.
name drop these 5 people, and here's the problems we solve. Go to town and let's bring the customer in for a demo.
You got it. Well, Andrew, thank you very much for
Thank you, sir.
another very good webinar. Thanks to everybody for showing up. We really appreciate you guys taking your time. Thank you, Mr. Elon Bethea, for the horrible webinar comment. We appreciate it every time.
Thumbs down, please.
We will see you folks next week, Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel. Thanks again,
Fantastic.
everybody.
Have a good one. Thanks, Joe.